We're down to the end of World Tag League 2025, and we have one set of finalists. One more will be determined tomorrow. So we're going to look over how we got here, how we got into that first semifinal match, who won it, and what we can expect going forward as the clock continues to tick. Only 5 matches left in the career of Hiroshi Tanahashi as well. That's all part of the story, too. A few other subplots have been going on in the meantime, maybe setting things up for early 2026. So with Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This is Speaking of Strong Style. Welcome, everyone, to Speaking of Strong Style, where we discuss the news, issues, and events surrounding New Japan Pro Wrestling. We're contributors to the Fight Game Media Network, and we had a lot of shows this past week. We had the final 2 nights of block action from each of the blocks in the World Tag League tournament, and then we had our first semifinal, and that just took place yesterday. So a lot to deal with it. And frankly, Jeremy, I think that there were some strong matches. I wouldn't say any classics, but some strong matches toward the end. And we got a pretty solid set of semifinalists at the end. I think it all shook out fairly well. Mm-hmm. I don't have a lot of complaints about how this ended up being booked, with a couple of reservations. So I do have a couple of them, and we'll get to those. But overall, what did you think as we move through this? Because it went a lot of how we thought.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that I felt like I didn't get right was Gabe kidding Yota Tsuji going in, because I figured that they were going to do the evil angle and have a true bad guy in there. But yeah, no, we're getting in there. We're getting 3 of the best teams that you could possibly have, like, moving forward, and then you have the tag team champions on the other that are trying to make their name on them. So, like, man, what's there to complain about at this point? The World Tag League is cooking. I'm into it.
Yeah, I feel like the company took it seriously. They put their best teams forward in a lot of ways here. So USVA guy is with us. Glad to see you. He says, "What's up, gang? Tag League is spicy." Yeah, there is a little bit.
They're setting up that gauntlet thing, if you're paying attention too, as well. I thought that
yes. Yeah, we've had some developments with Young Lions too. We're going to talk about in there. So, yeah, absolutely. They're moving into a thing now, Jeremy, where we're starting to see Young Lions kind of pair up and choose main roster guys to learn under, more so than just being kind of just generic guys in black boots and trunks on the roster trying to make their way. These guys are starting to join factions, or at least pick out mentors for themselves. You know, that's something we hadn't really seen much of. As we saw Zack Sabre Jr. literally just grab Kosei Fujita off the streets and say, "You're one of us now." But now you're seeing these guys take the initiative. And there were several examples of that, even just in the past week.
So I'm totally with you on this. The other thing that I was noticing about this World Tag League is, we're going to get into the whole thing. We're going to break down everything that happened. But what's really important is, everyone, once you're caught up, is to watch the December 10th backstage comments. Because there were a number of very interesting things said, spoken, elicited, whatever adverb that you want to use. They started dropping a lot of stuff about what was going to be happening in the near future, including Yuya and Shota, Callum Newman, got a sense of a lot of things with that. So a lot of people don't watch those backstage comments, but the December 10th, if you have the opportunity, you should watch those. They're going to give you a lot of context for Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, I agree. And Jeremy Moore is here. Glad to see him. He says, I heard about another retirement next year. Can't remember who. I believe Tiger Mask 4. Yeah, stepping down. That's going to be one. Although he's living his best life. He's starting to pick up other matches in other places. So, we'll see how that goes. We're going to be seeing Tiger Mask 4 in some companies and in some countries even that we're not used to seeing him in. So, and good for him. I mean, if anyone's earned it, man, that guy put in the time, didn't he? He's been Tiger Mask for far longer. I mean, I'd have to look it up, but I mean, has he been Tiger Mask longer than the rest of them combined? Probably.
I'm gonna say yes. He's literally aging out of the character.
It's very, very close, because it was. I'm trying to remember what year he officially became Tiger Mask, but I mean, from Sayama to him, it's it's probably very close. It's probably very close. I'd have to look that up. I just thought of that, but the man has been in that character for a very long time, and there's a chance it will continue. Probably either with Shomakato or Masatori Yasuda. Probably the two candidates right there is to take that on. I keep thinking Kato just because he keeps mentioning CMLL over and over again, and that seems like the place you'd go to learn how to be Tiger Mask.
So what are we talking about today? We're going to talk about the World Tag League.
Certainly.
We're going to talk about what matches we can read from the tea leaves based off the show. And you want to try and figure out the attendance of what Wrestle Kingdom is now that it's a complete sellout? Like a sellout among sellouts?
Well, yeah, we've sold the building out several times now. As it turns out, they keep adding more seats and they just vanish as soon as they're on sale. So
I think that's the thing that we're going to be talking about. And since I'm going to be one of those tickets there, I wanted to make sure that I mentioned before we get too far into this show, we have the Podcasting Summit 2026, the Tokyo Dome City fan meetup featuring the Super J Cast, We Work Stiff, Keeping It Strong Style, and I will be representing, speaking of Strong Style, at the Hub British Pub at noon on January 4th in Tokyo at the Tokyo Dome City, literally blocks from the retirement. We will be there. We will celebrate Tanahashi's retirement and Tsuji's win, or we shall weep over Okada winning and Takeshita retaining. All of these possibilities are our doorstep, but there's alcohol there. And we all know how alcohol makes things better and or worse, depending on your consumption and or mood. So we're all going to be there. A lot of us meeting each other for the first time in this podcasting summit, but we want you to join us to make it more fun, less awkward for you, less awkward for us. Buy the merch, hang out, talk about our shared love for New Japan and how we all got on a plane from wherever we came from to share in a retirement ceremony for Tanahashi. Because let's be honest, we're hoping the match is going to be really good. It has a really good chance of being good, but we're not here for the match. We're here for the retirement ceremony because that thing is going to be awesome. And this is where we're going to kick it off on January 4th. And I wanted to make sure I got that plug out there because I am doing my best to push it as well. And while we were at it, we're going to put that banner back up. Oh, man, where is it? There we go. tpublic.com. Keeping It Strong Style guys created this shop, and they called it the Shinnahan Podcast Summit 2026. It is going to be where you can get all the merch for the show, and that is that. So I got the plug out of the way, Steven, and with that, I wanted to add Jeremy Donovan and young boy Josh are going to be joining us next Thursday for the official 2026 Wrestle Kingdom 20. Speaking of Strong Style, speaking of Keeping It Strong Style, Wrestle Kingdom preview. And I'm really excited for that. It has been too long in the making, and I hope that you all join us next week for that extra long, extra big, extra spicy show.
And I want to mention this too. Jeremy Moore asked a question here. What areas were affected by the earthquake? There was a 7.5 earthquake that hit Japan the other day. That was in the northeast part, about 400 miles from Tokyo. It shouldn't affect the New Japan schedule. It injured about 24 people, unfortunately. And there's a bit of a mega quake watch goes on. I don't know what you can really do about an earthquake watch other than just stay close to doorways and door frames. But there is one, and the one that hit injured a few people, and it was definitely a biggie. Thankfully, far enough away from Tokyo and major population centers that it wasn't worse. Of course, we saw one a while back that was quite a bit worse. And this one, not so much, but it's definitely a concern. It's always a concern. There's always a threat of earthquakes in Japan. It's a rather seismic area for that type of activity. And, we'll just have to hope for the best. But the good news is right now, Japan is incredibly good at recovering from disasters like that. And this one was not as bad as you would think a 7.5 earthquake, although there's no such thing as a good one. And but it was a long, long way from Tokyo, which is basically the area in which they're spending the rest of the year. They're going to be down south. It's wintertime. They try to stay away from Hokkaido for the most part, although they were up there a couple weeks ago. So they try to stay down south. And on Honshu, the island, the main island there that has the biggest population centers. And that's where they're going to be for the rest of this year. And then, of course, Tokyo for the dome. Those two shows there, both Wrestle Kingdom and New Year's Dash, both in Tokyo itself. So shouldn't affect anything. But obviously, if there's another quake, all bets are off. You just never know. And oh, good, yeah, there we have our man here. Yeah, there you go. Brad's here. He says, I made it. Got caught up doing some movie listing work. Excellent. I'm glad. And he says, can you believe we're just a few weeks away from the big show? Where did the year go? I've been saying that for months, that I couldn't believe it was September. Then I couldn't believe it was October already. And now I can't believe that it's December. I should really start shopping, I think, is the main point I'm trying to make here on December 11th. I should probably start shopping because Christmas is in 2 weeks.
I'll tell you this much. The second my wife gave me a Christmas list, I bought that shit and I had it wrapped under the tree. And she was like, why are these gifts all wrapped? Why is everything done? I looked her dead in the eye, Steven, and I said, I'm going to Japan.
Yeah, I want nothing else on my plate.
I am not doing anything to jeopardize this whatsoever. And if that means I'm going to get off my ass and wrap your gifts and have everything done so that you come home every day and in a good mood, you look at that tree and see gifts under the tree for you, that's going to make my life a whole lot easier getting ready for Japan.
Well, fair enough. Well, while you've been doing that, I was, of course, watching the shows. Yes. And because all this stuff is going off of Peacock, the old stuff is coming off of Peacock, the WWE stuff, as their contract winds up with Peacock. Only until the end of the month will those archives be on there. So I've been cramming every moment I can into and watching old Mid-South and Mid-Atlantic and all the stuff that I loved as a little kid, and just trying to get all that in nice, clean, high definition. Although most people feel, and it looks like, a lot of that stuff's going to end up on YouTube, on their WWE YouTube channels.
For now.
And so it'll probably be available again, but I like how neatly it's laid out here.
Do you think they'll do like a $4.99 archive access kind of thing?
I don't know.
Like $5 to, because you can do that on YouTube.
You can do that. What I have heard people suggest, just kind of kicking ideas around, is that perhaps there isn't the market for a paywall type of service that will be profitable for them to run regarding the archives. However, because with YouTube, you get paid by the click, maybe they feel like they can make more money just by the clicks than
getting people to stay on there for enough time that they get monetized.
Yeah, because, even if they only watch one match or they watch a few minutes, that counts as a click. You know how all that stuff goes with the other. So they feel like maybe the old stuff, maybe there are enough nerds like me that'll just click on that stuff and they'll make a little bit of money off clicks, more than they would if they put it behind a paywall and had anyone just go, well, I'm not going to watch stuff from 40 years ago. And that's really for us diehards. So maybe it's a better YouTube vehicle for them.
I just to go back to that whole thing about this year, man, I was thinking like maybe we dropped something at Christmas about the year in review, and I can't even believe that January was like almost a year ago. Like we come back here every week and we talk, and it feels like a week because we don't talk to each other in between, but it also feels like the blink of an eye when it's all said and done. Like once these are all like in the chamber and like you put them to bed, these episodes, it's like you don't realize that we're about to hit 200 episodes.
Yeah,
almost like, 200. Chugging along, just kind of doing our thing. And
almost 200. And then not only that, like I flew out to Japan on January 1st last year, and that does not feel like a year ago. Does not feel like a year ago.
What's in the rearview mirror in life right now? It's just like, man, and given like, I don't know what you've got going on in your personal life right now, but just from Thanksgiving to New Year's, it's just a wash. Like you've just got to give up on like making sure that you can do any extra commitments. You got people to meet, you got family commitments, you got all of these different things. And so like you just got to look at somebody like, yeah, I didn't get to it. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, and we have big plans for 2026 here on the show.
Yes.
And I wanted to mention one other thing here before we get into World Tag League, by the way. He's not here live. Jeremy says he's not prepared for Wrestle Kingdom yet. It's coming, though. It's coming quick. Colin, we're glad to have heard from you this week, Colin. He left a comment on our YouTube. And it'd been a few weeks since Colin was able to join us live. He's one of our first and most consistent listeners. So glad to hear from you, bud. We're glad you're all right up there in Scotland. So, and here's one from Brad. If you could do it again, would you still go to Wrestle Kingdom last year, or would you have held off another year for the big retirement? Well, Brad, I'm glad you asked. So I was ecstatic to go. Keep in mind, we've talked about it before. Wrestle Kingdom's on my birthday. January 4th is my birthday, and has been since 1975. So longer than it's been New Japan's big day. But that was my 50th this past year. So it was a big one. It was a big number, and it was a gift partially, mostly, really. I mean, the airfare, the hotel, all that stuff. It was kind of a trip that my girlfriend of many years, 13 years in now, she gave to me. And it was for the big round birthday, the big 50, half 100. So that was a wonderful gift. It was a brilliant gift. And we do big things on the zeros, right? So that was the year it happened, right? The question is, would I do that over again? Yeah, because it was a wonderful 50th birthday gift from her.
That's the right answer.
It was the best. And it floored me. And she said, and she didn't come with me because we went together in May, as you might remember. I was away from there. But, and she said, we're going to go together for 2 weeks in May. So here in January, I want you to just do you. I mean, just go to all the wrestling. She said, I'm not going to go because she's right. I would have sat there and said, she won't want to sit through all these shows or be by herself, so I won't go. And she said, I don't want that to be a thing. And he says, I want you to go to every show you can. I want you to go to Tudo-Con and spend all the money. I want you to do it. And so I wouldn't trade that for anything. Yeah. I wouldn't trade that gift for anything at all. Would I like to be there this year? Oh, good God. Do you have any idea, Brad, the FOMO I am feeling? And what I'm going to be feeling is I shovel kettle chips into my face on January 4th, knowing that all this is going on and I can't be there. I will be back, and I know that. That's cushioning the blow a little bit. I will return to the Dome. I will return to Wrestle Kingdom.
This might be a one-time thing for me. I may never go back. I think this might be the one and done. I don't know. Like,
I keep thinking about that Noah show. There's going to be a Stardom show. There's going to be a Marigold show. There's going to be yes. FOMO is
I
real.
had someone hassling me on the phone to make sure I would go to a Stardom show. I'm like, I'm trying, but the schedule is getting a little tight right now.
It is. It's packed in, and there's really no way to get to all of them just because a lot of them are going on concurrently. And so you just have to pick. You have to pick one or the other.
I bought tickets for the Noah show on the 1st.
Excellent.
I've got tickets for the DDT show on the 3rd. And then I've got tickets for Wrestle Kingdom.
Where's that DDT show again? I'm sorry. Is that
Corkin? Yeah, I did it specifically because I was somewhat familiar with DDT and I needed to go to a show at Corkin. That was it. Like there wasn't any like I want to go to this promotion. I want to do this. I just need to be in the building. I just need the vibes. You know what I mean? Like I just need to run through it. And so the Noah show, it's hilarious. It sounds like Naito might be on that show now. Naito and Bushi and
Bushi and X. Gee whiz, I wonder who that.
Yeah, I wonder who that might be. And so it seems kind of obvious to me, Steven, that Naito may or may not have had a non-compete in Japan through the rest of 2025.
And when midnight strikes, he's a free man.
100%.
Yeah, that really feels like, because he never did appear in any wrestling shows in Japan, did he? No, I mean. Sense. In fact, he barely made it out to the stuff in Europe or anything else. He really didn't make very many appearances.
It's actually funny that X is Bushi's partner, because wasn't it Mr. X that scammed him and Bushi out of everything?
Yeah, I mean, look, you're going to hit a lot of very important spots while you're there. Yeah. You're going to Budokan Hall. That's a historic building. Where for Noah, New Japan has held big shows. There have been a couple of G1 finals in Budokan Hall, but those All Japan main events that are all-time classics. That happened in that building. You're going to go to Korakuen, which is Mecca for they call Madison Square Garden the Mecca of professional wrestling, or Gorilla Monsoon did anyway. And it is, right? But everyone's worked Korakuen. Like everybody. Not everybody's worked Madison Square Garden. Everybody that's ever been to Japan is pretty much in any significant way has worked Korakuen Hall. And then you're going to the Dome. I mean, you're hitting some great spots. Just make sure you go to Tudokan as well as Tokan. And
I was explicitly told to go to Tudokan and check out the Baseball Hall of Fame near there.
Yeah, it's in the Dome. It's in the Dome. Yeah. Now watch out. They're tricky with the operating hours. I'm
literally at a hotel next door. I think I could probably figure out what hours they're open and maybe
it's they aren't regular, and they're closed when you really feel like they should be open. Like there's why in the world would they not be open that day? Just pay attention, because they're open on Wednesday but not on Thursday. It's strange.
There's a lot to learn, and I've spent a considerable amount of time on YouTube watching videos about how to behave appropriately and not embarrass yourself in Japan. And a couple interesting things that I saw were, if you're at the outside market, you don't take food and walk away. You stand there and you eat at the thing. And I was like, oh, that's good to know, because I definitely would have walked away.
That's actually a pretty big one. And no one's going to yell at you, but what you'll get is the dumbass foreigner doesn't know. And that's what you want to avoid, right? I want to at least show respect and things like that. But that's actually a big one, is if you buy food at the convenience stores, and there's great food at the convenience stores, you walk outside the convenience store, stand and eat it kind of in front of the shop. Yeah. And that's what you do. And then you blow up your trash, but you do not walk down the street and munch. Difference is you can take a coffee or a tea and walk down the street and sip it. That doesn't seem to bother anybody, and they do it all the time. But food is a different animal there. Different animal. That's a stupid phrase. Food is a different thing there. You're supposed to just stand outside the shop from which you bought it and eat it there. Some of the food halls have seating. A lot of them don't. A lot of them don't have anywhere to stand. Space is at a premium, so large dining rooms are a luxury, not a necessity there. And so sometimes you just got to stand against a pillar near the food stand and eat your food right there. But yes, that's a good one. Yeah, that is a real one.
I guess I'm gonna have to get acclimated to that, because really all I want to do is, when I'm hungry, is grab some food and go back to my hotel room and eat it in silence there. But I'm not sure I'm allowed to take food away from wherever I'm going.
Yeah, you can do that. Just keep it in the bag. The main thing is opening it up and eating it while you're walking around. They don't like that, but it's perfectly fine to carry food back to your hotel and eat it in your hotel. I did it every night on the way back from the Dome. I would always stop by Family Mart and got Fami Chiki, their little fried chicken. It's fantastic. One of the best things there. And I would get a little thing of the ice cream, and I would have a little dessert up in my room. And the onigiri is fantastic too. So anyway,
there's a lot for me to go wild on, and I'm starting to get really excited. So
you're gonna love it. You're gonna love it.
You want to talk about this World Tag League, which was
let's do that. We got to get around to this eventually, but there was some good action here. So let's just summarize. Again, there are too many matches to just go step by step by step. And we have one more question that we're going to get to here, Jeremy, in just a little bit. A block. So when we last left you, there were several teams still in the mix. The ones that had been eliminated, Taichi and Kojima, they won their very first match, but had lost out going into this week. And then Chase Owens and Yujiro Takahashi had not won yet going into this week. So they were there's not a whole lot of point talking about them. They had a match against each other. Chase and Yujiro got it so that everybody would score a couple of points on that. Taichi and Kojima seem to be friends. They have not split up. They have not particularly argued. There's been a little bit of kidding in the comments about how they're both getting old and things, but Taichi wanted to win one for him. The other thing that happened with that is Taichi talked to Masatori Yasuda and mentioned that, hey, you and I are both from Hokkaido. I've been guiding you along. You've been teaming with me a lot. But if you want to go and work with Hiromu Takahashi, I have no issue with that. I will not stand in your way, thus opening the door for Yasuda to work with other people, since these young lions seem to have tied themselves to various main roster members. So he made a point of saying, yeah, we're both from Hokkaido. I'm rooting for you. I'll help you out anytime I can. But if you want to work with other people, you're welcome to do so. That indicates to me that we're going to be seeing that pretty soon.
I mean, the more Yasuda work with some of those guys, the better he's going to get. And Hiromu may be a little crazy, but he's an excellent technician in the ring. So working with him and doing all that could be good. It would be interesting, though, whether, is he going to go unaffiliated? Is he going to be vibing with that? That whole aspect of it is a little muddled. Kind of, we're going to have to see how that goes.
And this actually translates in here, Jeremy's question, that how strong is Rev Pro and the NJPW partnership right now? Seeing a lot of overlap with Progress Wrestling. And I know they work with WWE Progress, so I had to ask because I've got Rev Pro on demand. Rev Pro in England is one of their more solid, consistent partners, and several guys, including Shota Umino, Tomoaki Oka, Great Okan, have had their excursions with Rev Pro. I think that's still pretty strong, and I would not be surprised if Murashima went over there or if it was part of Shomakado's. It seems like Murashima and Kato are the ones that are closest to going off on an excursion if they go. And I think that relationship is still quite strong. It's not unusual at all for New Japan talent to show up on Rev Pro cards when New Japan isn't touring. So I think if you have Rev Pro on demand, you're probably going to be seeing New Japan talent over the course of 2026. I see no indications that that's changing. Do you?
No, not really.
So that could be a spot for Yasuda. Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not. Jeremy and I actually kind of asked me this stuff offline if I knew much about Rev Pro Progress, and I don't follow them too much other than when they tend to overlap with AEW and New Japan, Rev Pro at least. Right. And so it's just more territory wars, CMLL and AAA, New Japan and Noah. Everybody's got kind of a territory base, if you will, that they kind of a safe spot to run part of their promotion in there and out and whatnot. And fine, it's just business. But the promotion itself, I could take or leave. I think they're fine, but Luke Jacobs, a couple of these other guys that are in there. I got a guy I know, David Lavelle, that is just really big on one of the young baby faces there. So I've got a few kind of knowledge bits of there, but there's no way, shape, or form I can speak with any expertise about either promotion.
Well, Robbie X has been a Rev Pro guy for a while, and he's really excelled in New Japan. So that's one of the ways that it is. The partnership has been beneficial, plus giving them a place to send the guys.
Yeah, I mean, it's just in this instance, right? New Japan is still the big fish. New Japan is not the big fish against AEW. It's not the big fish against all these other things. So, when you are doing that, I don't know if they're going to do excursions because the latest show seemed to hint that we're going to get back at excursions with some of these young lions with where they were going to want to go. And maybe it was a budget maneuver, and maybe this past generation, they were like, yeah, we'll just not do it with them. And, we'll have a different direction with them. But Rev Pro is totally a fine place for them to go and cut their teeth. Oscar and Yuta were there for a little bit too. And
also true. Yeah.
So just it's all fine, but I tend to not gravitate towards promotions where New Japan is the bigger fish because they're there to cut their teeth at New Japan and get better and rise up that stage. I don't go backwards if that makes any sense.
And Brad mentions, we'll get to other comments as well, Brad, when we get to those points in the show. They said they should bring back the Young Lion Cup since they have a dozen guys. Well, yeah, the Young Lions have been pushing for it, so it might actually happen there. They've been mentioning it a lot, and they haven't done one in a long time, since the Wato Oka days and Kitamura, who's passed away and things. Those were the stars of the last Young Lion Cup, just to give you an idea of how long it's been since they had one. All right, so World Tag League. Let's go ahead and talk about this tournament here. And what we had was, I mentioned the two teams that were eliminated. They were the only ones that weren't part of things as we went to Osaka. This is back at the Osaka Prefectural Hall Numero Dos. And on this one, Bishamon came in strong. They defeated Kid and Tsuji in Osaka. And they hit a Shoto on Kid to get that win. Now, that put Kid and Tsuji in a bit of a predicament. They had actually entered the week in the lead on points. But Now they had kind of a nasty tiebreaker situation going, and but they were only in the lead by 2. So now, after the Osaka loss, where Bishamon defeated him, there were several teams on the same number of points, and not all of Kid and Tsuji's tiebreakers look great. So they needed a win on the last day, and that's what this loss to Bishamon did. Put Bishamon in play and put Kid and Tsuji in a more precarious position. By the way, after that match, we've been talking about Young Lions. Mm-hmm. After that match in Osaka, it was the main event, and during the post-match comments in the ring, Goto made Matsumoto an official Goto Revolutionary Army member. So now I guess there's this little subset of Hantai is the Revolutionary Army, and it's Goto, Yoshihashi, and Matsumoto are part of it, just as a trios tournament's coming up. Go figure. Our trios gauntlet's coming up. But that was a part of the thing. Of course, Matsumoto has been trying to get in with Goto, trying to ingratiate himself with it, showing up whether he wanted to or not in his corner. And Goto seems to have liked the kid's pluck and decided to bring him into the
cut of his jib.
Exactly. So there you go. So anyway, that was the thing there. And then Shingo and Maloney defeated Yano and Bolton. That took Yano and Bolton out of the mix, kept Shingo and Maloney, the War Dragons, in it. Brad mentions that some of these teams need to stay. The War Dragons was great. Monster Sauce, awesome again. And he also said he got a huge kick out of Finlay and Hiromu. I agree. I mean, if there is some sort of roster shakeup, I would love for Shingo and Maloney to stay in the same one. I think they aren't exactly the same guy, but there's a little of that, straightforward, look you in the eye and fight ethos of the two that works and could work in a faction. And I would like to see the War Dragons stay together too, or the Kita brothers, however you want to call them. But they hit a double made in Japan on Yano that put them in a win and you're in situation with Bishamon. So this is how all the drama was building here. The other match that mattered that night in Osaka, Evil and Fale defeated Desperado and Ishikawa. And that kind of took Desperado and Ishikawa out of it and kept House of Torture in the mix on the final day, just to threaten to ruin our lives.
Goblin style, just hanging out.
What'd you think of the show in Osaka, Jeremy?
I thought it laid the groundwork for an excellent closing night, but it didn't wow me like a couple of the finales of the other nights. And I thought of the two A-block nights, it was the lesser of the two that I watched. But it was fine. Like, you know what I mean? But if we're scaling it to the other shows, it was the one I felt like it was just there kind of thing. Yeah. Well,
Bishamon and Tsuji, again, Kid, that was a good match. That was a really good main event. And of course, Kid and Tsuji had been in each other's face throughout the tournament, getting angry at one another. And there was a bit of a twist in that tale right there where Tsuji actually went up to Gabe over the course of the week and apologized after the hardcore match. The differences really began with that hardcore match.
Yes.
Although it wasn't literally a hardcore match, but it devolved into one with Desperado and Ishikawa. And Tsuji said, we don't need that. I don't want to do that. Of course, the real reason is they don't want Tsuji anywhere near tables and chairs going into a major match at the Dome.
Totally.
But they used that as a point of friction with the two. Afterwards, Tsuji apologized and said, no, there are how did he put it? He said, there's room for all types of professional wrestling. And Kid kind of looked at him a little warily. And then later on, in an important moment, Tsuji really put himself out there to try to save Kid. And afterwards, Kid said, I saw that. He said, we're going to go in there and we're going to win this thing. So I thought that was kind of cool. Now, I still think they're going to fight each other. I still think they want to fight, but we'll talk about that. Anyway, they have more to come. So that was what was going on with those teams there, and that's some of the subplots that have been happening as we go into the semifinals. Kid and Tsuji are okay with each other, kind of.
When I was looking at those matches on the 5th, I felt like Bishamon and Kid and Tsuji was like the best match on the card, and it ended up being the best, if not the second best match compared to Shingo War Dragons and Oleg and Yano. Like, that was also a really good match of that night. But I was kind of getting to a point with Kid and Tsuji where I already know what Tsuji's grand plan is, and it's the destination Takeshita at Wrestle Kingdom. And so I get that they're trying to put a little attention on Yota Tsuji and give him a little bit of a story going forward. But nothing about this story elevates him as a single star going into the match with Takeshita. And so it's not interesting to me. I get that they're going back and forth. I get that Tsuji apologized to Kid. And when you watch the backstage comments for the 10th, Kid apologizes to Tsuji and they get back on the same page. And it's all there. It's fine. But it just feels like a time padded story. And I'm fine with all the other guys in the World Tag League having these, like, the Hiromu and the Finley and the Shingo War Dragons and the Kita brothers and all that stuff. But when it comes to Yota Tsuji right now, like, your story is making this guy look like he's at the top of the mountain and nothing can touch him going into Wrestle Kingdom. And that's the one criticism I have about all this, is I feel like that's not even a plot point.
Okay. Well, I think what might turn out is setting up something for Tsuji later, because we have a new beginning in the United States.
Yes.
And Gabe Kidd makes an awful lot of sense for that spot. It could be a match where the champion could win and just get something out of a night there in America with not an American. Of course, Gabe is Gabe's from Great Britain, but he does appear to be staying in the United States more and more as far as who else he's working for. So having Gabe as the challenger for New, nothing's announced, but again, tea leaves. That would be a place where that match could happen, and just to give him something on the horizon, because I don't think you want to blow a big match against a major Japanese opponent in America when you have other new beginning cards in Japan to do those.
That's a really good observation. If that could be the loser leave New Japan, whatever match that they do, that kind of been send off for Gabe. Fine. That's what they did with Jay White, did a couple of the other guys. They have one last US show and then Bon Voyage.
Yeah. USVA guy says they can't have a Young Lions Cup since most in the dojo haven't debuted yet, but we do have 6 that have, so you could do kind of a round robin thing with those 6. And in fact, I think that's how many people were in the previous one. It was a round robin type of tournament. Maybe they had 8, but there's enough to do it with 6 should they choose. They haven't announced anything, but there are 6, and you can do it with 6, I would think. All right, what else we have here? Okay, so we're down to the last night of A block action, and in that one, Tsuji and Kid defeated Taichi and Kojima. They had what you would say the easiest draw for that night. They got.
It just felt so unceremonious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it felt like a foregone conclusion by the time it looks like they're going in. Like,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, and like I said, Taichi and Kojima got the win on the very first night and then lost out the rest of the way. Like you said, it was unceremonious. They didn't even bother with a whole ton of drama as to whether or not they would pull the upset. It was pretty much just putting over Tsuji and Kid. And so there you have it.
It's such a passive way to say, yeah, these are 2 badasses and the best in New Japan. They did it without it. Once they got on the same page, they were unstoppable. Okay, that's really not the story I got out of this. It was just a lazy way. It just did not feel like that was conveyed, even though physically in the ring, that was kind of the story they were telling.
After that, we had Yano and Bolton against Fale and Evil, and lo and behold, House of Torture slipped on a banana peel before they could get into the semifinals. They had Yo on Japanese commentary, and when all the House of Torture interference began, Yo hopped the rail and started helping out. They for a while they'd handcuffed Bolton and Yano to they were doing a whole bunch of things with the whiskey and weapons and all that stuff. And Yo just went on a tear and helped everybody out. And in the end, got the whiskey and spit it in Fale's face. And then they rolled up Fale, both Yano and Bolton, and pinned him. And that saved us from House of Torture, as it turns out. So they were out of it, and it left Tsuji and Kid in on tiebreakers. That their 10 points would hold up. And it all came down to the final match between the War Dragons and Bishamon. So I was relieved. I didn't really want to see Fale in the semifinals, although I would have understood having a strong heel team in there. But yeah, I was perfectly all right with not watching Fale in the semis.
The good news here, they closed the loop, if you will, because Bolton Oleg had those feuds with Fale, and then he ended up dropping the title to Evil. And so with them getting the win over Evil and Fale, you can kind of wrap that whole thing up and put a bow on it and just hope that Oleg doesn't have to go anywhere near House of Torture now that Aaron Wolf is here, and just kiss that feuding goodbye, because that's been going on since G1, right? Like that whole thing was born out of G1 feuding, and so Bolton Oleg has been in the maw of the House of Torture hurricane for the last 5 months. Good for you, buddy. You escaped with a win. And this was one of the matches that we talked about last week that could go either way. You know, if like you typically don't get in on a loss. So when we were predicting it, it's like, well, Oleg could be the spoiler here, or House of Torture just does what House of Torture does and goes forward on a team that no one is going to look twice if they beat. And so it was a 50-50.
So down to Shingo and Maloney against Bishamon. This is a terrific match, as you can imagine. The big move time toward the end was excellent. This is something the Bishamon, of course, with their teamwork, they can come in and out of moves, and you don't even see the other one coming, but the timing is always perfect. It's just really strong tag team work from these two. They are one of the best tag teams in the world. And Shingo and Maloney, they have really come into their own. Excellent team here. They were fighting in and out of the Shota, and it was an exciting match. But finally, they hit the Shota on Drilla Maloney, and Bishamon won. The perennial contenders and 3-time in a row champions moved on into the semifinals, winning the block. So Bishamon ended up on tiebreakers and points, finishing first in the block, and then Tsuji and Kid slipped in with the other 10 points and tiebreakers necessary. And there you had it for the A block.
In hindsight, I feel like Shingo and Drilla should have advanced. I kind of wish that they had, but I get that they are positioned as the second or third in their factions and that other people take precedence on that. I get that, but you know, with Yota being in the plans where he is and the way that this is all played out, I kind of wish they had done something a little bit different, but that's just me.
Yeah, no, I do understand. I think part of it may have simply been that Yota Tsuji is in the world title match at Wrestle Kingdom and they want him to look strong. And that would mean Kid doing all the jobs and maybe Tsuji at least getting to the post block play just to show how much on a roll he is, perhaps. Maybe they just didn't want to eliminate him when he is going to be the main guy at Wrestle Kingdom outside of that Tanahashi Okada match. So I think part of it might have been just keeping Yota as strong as possible, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that's pretty much.
Yeah. All right. So that was the A block. And then we went over to the B block. Now, on the second to last night of B block action, they were in Ehime, which is Yuya Uemura's hometown. So he and Shota were in the main event and they won it. So hometown guy won again. They did the same thing in Shingo's hometown where he went over in the main event. And this time they defeated Sanada and Narita. He hit the deadbolt on Sanada to win in a match where they did the best they could. I am more convinced than ever that Narita just matches his partner's energy, which means Sanada is exactly the wrong guy to put Ren Narita in with because he's just going to get slow and lazy like Sanada is with that stuff. And just Narita, he doesn't pick it up. So if Sanada is ponderous and slow and dull, Narita just sort of matches that instead of saying, okay, I need to turn up the intensity because Sanada can't anymore. Anyway, the good news is they hit the deadbolt on Sanada and won. And Narita and Sanada were never really a factor in this, but this gets Umino and Uemura in the mix. Then Sabre and Oiwa defeated Hiromu and Finlay, and that kept TMDK in the mix. Once again, Hiromu and Finlay, one of the more entertaining teams in this tournament. I had a good time. They clearly were having a blast working together, using each other as offensive weapons. Their banter in the post-match comments, we mentioned it last week a little bit, but Finlay is a legitimately funny person. He's a funny guy. And as he worked to create this heel character, he had to avoid that. He wasn't supposed to be funny. He was supposed to be a dark, mean guy. And this whole thing has allowed him to bring out a sense of humor again. And I enjoyed it while it was there. And they weren't a factor in the tournament. Probably shouldn't have been, just because that's not the story that they're telling. Sabre and Oiwa, former world champion, that team's is the one that stays in the mix. And that was the correct answer there. So at this point, going into an interesting match with the Knockout Brothers, we have Sabre and Oiwa, Uemura and Umino ready to go in the mix going into the final night of B block action. Any thoughts on these two before we move on to the head-scratching moment?
About Sabre and Oiwa?
No. I'll get to the head-scratching in a moment.
I want to make sure I got lost to who I'm still supposed to be talking about right now.
Well, what did you think of Uemura and Umino? What did you think of Sabre and Oiwa as they went into the last night?
I thought both teams were in the picture for MVP of the entire tournament. I thought both teams showed up and showed out multiple nights, and it's arguable which team had matches of the night with opposing partners, because Yuya and Shota had a couple of fantastic ones. The match they had with each other was probably the match of the entire tournament. The Yuya Shota versus Oiwa and Zack Sabre Jr. match. That might have been might have been the whole thing. It was really interesting. Did you see the Tokyo Sports article about with the Zack Sabre Jr. after all was said and done?
I haven't had a chance to look over that yet. Why don't you tell us about it?
Okay, so this plays into Wrestle Kingdom plans, because if Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa win this tournament, they are going to take their shot at the tag team titles at the main event of the January 5th show rather than challenge at Wrestle Kingdom.
Oh, a dash.
Which would take the Wrestle Kingdom, which would take the tag titles off the board, potentially putting more people into the Gauntlet and the Rambo instead. Right. So this is potentially, if they win it, which, spoiler alert, there's a possibility here that they could. What do you think about that idea of Zack Sabre Jr. being the maverick of when and where he wants to do his title shots? Because he felt like the Takahashi show was going to take over everything, and if Oiwa wins, he wants it to be Oiwa's night and not in the shadow of Takahashi.
Well, that's an interesting thought, and I would be curious to see how they would approach that. It's interesting to look at the Wrestle Kingdom card, because we're not doing our preview right now, but we have Tanahashi versus Okada, of course. We have the world title match, Takeshita versus Tsuji. Remember, that's a double title match, but global title online. Aaron Wolf and Evil is a special attraction. Shuri versus Sayaka Matani, double title match. The number one contenders match for the Junior Heavyweight Championship, which is baffling, but it'll be a good match. Desperado, Fujita, Ishimori, Show, right? That's it. So there's more to add here. There is, and we're going to have the gauntlet, like the never open weight 6-man gauntlet. But normally, and this might not be a normal year, granted, but there are 10 or 12 matches on the Wrestle Kingdom card. So there's a lot more to come. So, and it seems odd to me, Jeremy, not having one of your hotter acts of the second half of the year, the Knockout Brothers, in a featured match on that show. I know they can be in the gauntlet, teaming with somebody. I get that. I feel like it's a smarter move to have KOB in a featured match in front of that big crowd, since it's such a hot act and they are people that they can try to get more fans behind. And this is a good opportunity. Going to be on national television. This is a good time to feature these dudes. And I would advocate for doing that instead of a show that only people on World are going to see the next night from Road Award. You got national television. You're trying to make new stars. Knockout Brothers are right there in front of you.
Is it possible that they do a match with the Knockout Brothers and a number of the teams that they faced in this tournament, and then Sabre and Oiwa faced the winners the next night.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that, but I would definitely. My point is, I think.
I'm looking for a solution. You presented a problem. Yeah. I'm looking for a solution.
I think that's a pretty good one. My point is, I think Ice and Oscar should have their hands raised at Wrestle Kingdom, however they.
And then they can lose the next night or win the next night. It does not. I think they should sustain a, pretty dominant run going forward. And if you win a tournament, it doesn't necessarily mean that, you're going to win the title afterwards. We've seen evidence of that many times in the past in New Japan. So, I think there's definitely meat on that bone if they decided to go that route and then call that shot differently. But yes, there was a Tokyo Sports article that I read when translated through various means via my phone and computer, expressed that Zack Sabre Jr. and Oiwa last year, they had just started partnering and they did well, but they didn't quite reach the top of the mountain. And with a year under their belts, they're one of the best tag teams in the world. And that is a story I can agree has been told well throughout this tournament.
This is the one that's a head scratcher to me, though.
Yes.
They lost in one way. There's another way where it could work, but I don't know if it's worth it. Zayn and Archer beat him, and over the Knockout Brothers. No, Zayn and Archer defeated the Knockout Brothers.
Oh yeah.
And that is likely to be a match that sets up something for New Beginning in America. It just feels like, because since then Archer has mentioned in his post-match comments he wants a title shot. We beat the champions. We deserve. We're not going to win World Tag League. I understand we're not going to win World Tag League, but I think we deserve a shot at the World Champions. And New Beginning in the United States would be a good place to have that match. Zayn and Archer against the Knockout Brothers. So, on the other hand, though, I think the Knockout Brothers lost too much in this tournament. I just don't think they should have lost 3 matches. I don't think they should have been tied with other people and winning on tiebreakers. I think they should have won the block outright. You've got a hot act. Keep them hot. And I felt like that was just one too many losses. But that is picking nits. They are in the semifinals, and everything's fine. It's just that's a little bit of a nitpick for me, as I thought there's one too many losses there. Brad agrees.
And Brad was hot about them losing so much in the beginning.
Well, yeah, and he thinks that they shouldn't have lost to House of Torture. Yeah, fair enough. I mean, of the two, that might be actually the more egregious one. I'm just talking about the timing of this one. I just thought, that's pretty rough. But if the goal is to set them up for the New Beginning in America match against Archer and Zayn, they're okay. Okay,
if they run it back and they beat all these guys in title matches, I'm fine. It's fine.
Yeah, and they should. By the way, there's no reason to take the tag team titles off of those guys. I feel very strongly about that.
They're gonna have them be like pinning Yuya and Shota again over and over.
Yeah,
the chances of them with running it back with Gabe kidding Yota Tsuji more than once. Like, you only got a couple of times to have these guys win and go over these guys. You can't do it over and over and over again. They've already done it twice with Shota and Yuya. You squeeze the blood from the stone, you got to make new challengers for them to beat. And you're going to have to do it through here.
Yeah, it's fair enough. And then, like Brad said, this tournament seems to have kicked Shota in the ass. He's looked really, really good teaming with Yuya.
Yeah. He got a storyline.
Yeah.
Like what happens when you have a storyline. And so we all remember at the beginning of the tournament when they faced Tanahashi, Shota just kind of surprised everyone, and made an impassioned plea to Tanahashi to lead Hontai. And it's kind of in the air, and I was wondering where it was going to go. And so again, in those December 10th backstage comments, Shota just kind of looked at Yuya like, you got something to say? And Yuya cut his promo. You know what? Yeah. He went out there and he said, I want to lead Hontai. I'm the son of New Japan, and no one's going to stop me. And I smiled, and I was like, God damn it, I believe you, buddy. No one's going to stop you. And then, Shota got a chance to talk. He talked about he was depressed, and he talked about all these things, and he talked about how the fans just kind of were his friends and the people that got him through it. And one of these people felt like Tanahashi, and one of them felt like Naito.
Yeah, that's a good analogy, really. And he might be following Naito's career path very indirectly. That's my thought on that. Newman and Okan, by the way, defeated Tanahashi and ELP. Tanahashi and ELP never really a factor in the tournament, and mostly there so that Tanahashi can quite literally get his flowers. He's been presented with, that's a phrase I hate, except it's literal.
When it actually happens.
Presenting him with the big bouquets everywhere, and obviously warm farewells to Tanahashi at each stop on the tour. So not winning a lot of matches, but nevertheless, ELP's carrying the load for most of them. Newman and Okan in the mix going into the final night. So as we went into the last night of B block action, 3 of the 4 matches mattered. And there was one at the very beginning that was not a factor in the standings, and that one was that was the match with I got it in front of me right here. Tanahashi and ELP, they defeated Sonata and Narita on the 9th, and that was the one that so it sent out ELP and Tanahashi with a victory, at least playing the music at the end.
That one was interesting. If things went the right way and Sonata and Ren won, they would have gone forward, because they would have ended up with 8 points and knocked out. So Tanahashi played the hero, stopping the House of Torture just one last time from moving forward. But there were a number of matches in there that was like, this team can't lose. Whoever wins stayed alive. Another one was can't lose for one team. And then the last one was like a winning you're in.
Right. And then after that, we had Oiwa and Sabre against Zane and Archer. Now, Alex Zane neck is killing him at this point. He's taking a beating on his neck. They did a very quick match here to get Zane and Archer out of there. And Alex Zane did very little in this match. It was short, and it was mostly Archer, where I believe it was Zack that rolled up Lance Archer, not quite in a victory roll, but he just kind of snatched him off his feet. And
he tripped, fell, and got him on his back, and basically got the angle for a pin.
Yeah, and that saved Zane from having to do a whole lot on a bad neck. And
I was very confused about that until the backstage comments.
Yeah, and that was what it was. I think they were trying to protect Alex, and then that was the end of the Monster Sauce. So Monster Sauce comes out of this tournament having faced Tanahashi, and you know what that meant to Archer. He said in his backstage comments, they have a possible world title shot on the horizon. So I think Monster Sauce, this was good for Monster Sauce. I think they were good in the tournament. I like them as a tag team. I would like to see more of them. I think we're going to. And then it kept Sabre and Oiwa, of course, that pretty much got them into the semifinals. Then we had Hiromu and Finlay against Newman and Okan. And this is one that was interesting because Hiromu, who had not been getting a lot of pins, he's been the one taking them, and had been Finlay actually scoring the victories. Hiromu defeated Newman with a finisher to pin them and eliminate United Empire. Newman and Okan were very angry about this, and it led to them actually attacking Hiromu on semifinals night to start a bit of a mini feud that's going to go on some of these shows leading up to the Dome. Again, Newman, of course, going full heel here, and we'll see what Okan does as far as the long-term plans and Hanare and all the rest. Jacob Austin Young seems to be on board with Newman 100%. Okan, but Hiromu and Finlay get the win on the final night. The fans seem to like that an awful lot. Hiromu getting the victory, and then that took out the United Empire team. But overall, Newman and Okan's story was setting things up for things to come. That's really what's coming. Everyone knows there's going to be some kind of explosion regarding United Empire. It's not the time to do it yet. We've got other stories to tell, but this is simmering under the surface.
I was laughing because I was like, oh, look, another group of 3 people.
By the way, simmering does not happen under the surface. That's a terrible metaphor, and I botched it. It's simmering. Beneath the surface, it wouldn't be simmering. It's not simmering yet. Go ahead, Jeremy. I'm just being pedantic.
Are you good? Are we good?
No. No, I'm really not. Go ahead.
The power of three: Callum Newman, Jacob Austin Young, Great O'Con, the Bishamon, and the kid you mentioned before. Who are we going to get? Drilla, Finley, and Hiromu as a team. You know, like they seem to be like setting up, because I looked to see who ran after them when Hiromu got attacked, and it was Drilla and it was Finley, and I was like, I can see Hiromu, Finley, and Drilla being a team at Wrestle Kingdom. So I'm watching and I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, there's plenty of power of threes going on right here, because we got to get the last of these guys on the card. And once that World Tag League is done, I expect one or two more matches to be made, and we call it a day, and we have a full card for our preview next week.
Okay. All right. So as we move on from there, we had KOB, the Knockout Brothers, against Uemura and Umino, and this was the classic winning you're in, losing you're out playoff match. And so Knockout Brothers, terrific match. Once again, you mentioned that Uemura and Umino might be the MVPs of the tournament. There are a couple of contenders for that. Sabre and Oiwa were excellent as well. Bishamon, damn good. But Uemura and Umino wrestled like they meant it in this tournament. And this was a pretty terrific match here. They hit the knockout bomb on Shota Umino to get the victory. Terrific one. And that left the Knockout Brothers at number one in the block. So they won their block. Again, I'm picking nits.
You wanted to see them with a 10 next to their name, not an 8.
I did. But you know what? Hey, again, picking nits.
There's this aspect that, okay, we're relatively educated wrestling fans, and we do a podcast and we do all of these things. There is an optic here where you have two teams that have 10 in one block and two teams that have 8 in the other block. And regardless of the fact that the Knockout Brothers are the current IWGP Tag Team Champions, when you look at them with an 8 next to their name, even though they won the block, they look like the underdog compared to the other powerhouse team. And so if they win, they get elevated off of that, and they're no longer looked at as such an underdog. So while I get the inherent mindset of wanting to see the 10 and wanting to get the 5 throughout them, I think it's better for them to have the 8 to appear as an underdog and then come out with a win, so that they actually change some mindsets instead of an assumption of they're lesser. Oh no, they're actually better. When given the opportunity and squeak past, they actually ended up being the winners. If they don't win this whole thing, this does not look good in hindsight. But
yeah. And again, what we're going to be here, we'll be on this show again talking about how they just won't go with the new talent. They just keep kneecapping them. Give them a big win, please.
You need to build the tag team division around these guys, and they need to be the mountain that other people have to climb, not that they are climbing that mountain first. They won the titles. They should have been the mountain. They should have appeared to have climbed that mountain already. They faced dominant teams to defend those titles. Coming into Wrestle Kingdom, we did not need a story with them where it's like, are they good enough to stand against all these teams? They should have had a really strong run with a couple of fluke losses, not the way that it was done, because you're really trying to build these guys, and the politics of protecting some people over than others. Come January 5th, it's going to be a whole new pecking order anyway, so who the fuck cares?
All right. So then we moved on to the semifinals night in Nagasaki. So I wanted to mention one other thing. Aside from Osaka, which was kind of a disappointing crowd of just about 1,000, I think Stardom actually beat them the last time they were in that gym.
Mm-hmm.
Gym holds about 1,200, and for some reason they didn't fill it. That was strange, considering the circle. It was Tanahashi's last match in Osaka, and it didn't fill. It was weird. The other nights they had strong crowds, 1,200, 1,300, in not very big cities. Certainly not anything remotely as large as Tokyo, Yokohama, or Osaka. And so they did pretty well in Ehime. They did well in Nagasaki. They did well in the other spots. So go figure. Osaka, just weird night. Just they didn't turn up for it. But that was the outlier. The rest of the week, fairly strong crowds. And they went to Nagasaki, and that was on the 10th, as you mentioned. And there was a bunch of preview stuff underneath. I mentioned the Hiromu Takahashi attack from United Empire. And that was the main point until we got to the semifinals of the tag team tournament. And at that one, we had the main event, Goto and Yoshihashi, Bishamon against Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa. What could go wrong? This match was fantastic. And a lot of callbacks between Zack and Goto to their singles matches, including Zack tying up Goto's arms and threatening to break it like he allegedly did when Goto was lost the world title and was written out of the script for a while so that he could go and work on another script, which was the Street Fighter movie when he was Honda. There were a lot of callbacks to those matches with Goto and Zack battling back and forth. Oiwa was an excellent wrestler. I look forward to when it is his time at last here and he gets some higher profile matches and pushes. He's talented enough to do it. And you just saw Bishamon with that preternatural teamwork. I loved this match, really enjoyed it. One of my favorites of the tournament. But in the end, Zack and Oiwa got the victory on Bishamon. Bishamon, the perennial contenders and champions again. They're the guys that have to make everybody. Zack doesn't need making so much, but it was a situation where they put over the former world champion, and Bishamon steps to the side for now. I'd imagine we'll see them in the gauntlet. And Zack and Oiwa on to the World Tag League Finals.
Just like we all thought, right?
I mean, it wasn't out of the possibility. I mean, we thought that this team was going to do well in the tournament. I wondered if they weren't going to. My question on this one was, would they take Oiwa seriously? And there's no question about Zack. Or was this a situation where Zack is the world champion level guy who's teaming with the guy that gets beat? Because, that was the thing. But as it turns out, they did beat Oiwa when this team lost. It was Oiwa that would take the pin. But they did hang in long enough to get into the semifinals. And they didn't beat Oiwa too many times. That was my question about it, is like, how seriously did they take Oiwa in this situation? I was happy to see that they thought he was worthy of making the finals.
I agree with that. And also, one of the flowers I want to give this team in particular were their ability to synergize their moves together. That German suplex win to the jackknife pin kind of stuff. They were very, very excellent with each other. And you kind of take it for granted because they're in TMDK and, Zack is more of a single star, but they're a really good tag team.
Yeah, they definitely are. So we have our final set, and let's take a look at what we have coming up on Friday the 12th in Kagoshima. That's the night we are going to get our other semifinal, which is Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji versus the Knockout Brothers. Jeremy, again, if they kneecap the KOB here, I'm going to be extremely frustrated. It just
probably
seems
won't be the only one. There'll be some social media outcry, I think.
Tsuji and Kid don't need to win this match,
no,
do they? I mean, they can beat Kid here.
Yeah, they can beat each other.
Yeah,
I think this is a classic story of a team that's on the same page versus a team that's not, and that can be the difference. That should be the story.
Yeah,
the Knockout Brothers have been aligned very well with each other, philosophically, mentally, and physically. You can't say the same about Gabe Kidd and Yota Tsuji. In fact, they've highlighted how disaligned they are with each other. And if they have that team, like, that's unable to get on the same page, go over the young team that is flowing synergistically, I got a lot of questions, man.
This is the one time when I would say that the champion winning the tournament ain't a bad idea.
Don't get cute.
But that's how high I am on the Knockout Brothers. I just think you need to go with these guys. How often do you get a hot act? Not very often, as we've seen the last couple of years in New Japan, the last several years in New Japan. You don't get a hot act very often. Do not cut it off. That's all I ask. Although, if they win this thing and go in against Zack and Oiwa in the finals, and that match would take place. Just want to make sure I get the town right. That's going to be. Let's see here. Schedule.
I think it's still in Kagoshima.
Kumamoto, Sunday the 14th in Kumamoto, in Grand Messe Kumamoto. Kagoshima is at the Sun Arena, in the Sendai Sun Arena. So Kumamoto, that one is the finals on Sunday. Ryohei and Zack against the winner of that match tomorrow. So
that annoys me because I took straight from the B block finish that said Bishamon will now take on Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Wednesday in Nagasaki, while Gabe Kidding Yota Tsuji face the Knockout Brothers Friday in Kagoshima semifinal. The winners will meet in the World Tag League final Sunday in Kagoshima. That is on the website.
I believe you.
I'm annoyed.
Yeah, it's in Kumamoto. The finals are in Kumamoto.
Cool. The syllabus is incorrect.
All right. So with that in mind, I mean, we're down to 3 teams here. And what is your final prediction on who's going to win World Tag League, Jeremy?
I'm going with Zack Sabre Jr. and Ryohei Oiwa.
Okay. That's fine.
I think they win. I think there's a 4-way at Wrestle Kingdom with the Knockout Brothers winning, with Zack Sabre Jr. and Oiwa saying, no, you guys all figure that out. I'll wait the next night. And then they'll face the winners there. Okay. That makes the most sense to me, but I mean, this has been a really good tournament, and there's a very real opportunity they punched themselves in the balls on the finish.
All right. And then Jeremy says, I felt like Tag League struggled for a while, better this year. Brad enjoyed the tournament, though. Brad said he loved this tournament. It might have been the best tournament of the year, he feels, due to the stories it told up and down the card. We did have
totally breezy watching to me, with at least one good match a night. Great.
Yeah, and you had the Takahashi situation where he's saying his farewells. The drama of Kid and Tsuji, the drama of Hiromu and Finlay, which is partial comedy. You had how the War Dragons were going to work together. Turns out pretty great. Then just teams that are excellent in the first place, having good matches. And of course, there was always that threat of a breakdown with Umino and Uemura. It didn't turn out to happen quite yet. If it's going to happen at all, don't know. Feels like there's some sort of battle for Hantai coming, but it didn't happen here. But it was a nice little undercurrent, wasn't it? Each match you were kind of looking, is one of them going to miss a lariat and hit the other? So there was always that tension there. So there were a lot of things to think about as you watch these shows, which I appreciate. And frankly, even though the action was excellent, you didn't have those subplots in Junior Tag League.
No, you didn't have anything in Junior Tag League. Junior Tag League was empty calories on an empty soda.
It was good matches. They were good matches.
They were fine. But like, when there's nothing to connect to other than matches, that's what you have. You have another promotions, and that's not what they should be conveying through the commentary, which half of it was, just Japanese commentary through the thing. So that tells you everything that you need to know there. But yeah, this was a better tournament. I kind of, don't castigate me for this. I kind of like the C2 right now. I think they're having some good matches with some excellent stories. And yeah, I totally expect Okada and Takeshita, to be the finale of that one. And then they both head over to New Japan. So I like it. I think it's a really good tournament. I haven't even watched the show from last night all the way through, and I heard there were some amazing matches on there with our boy Kyle Fletcher from the former Aussie Open having a blow-away match with the young speedball Mike Bailey. But I heard that one was actually a tremendous match last night. And then Takeshita and Moxley had an excellent one this past weekend. So I do like that tournament. I did like the G1. I kind of like the New Japan Cup. The Super Junior Tag League was probably the only one I didn't like, but the other ones, like I can't tell you which one was my favorite, but I inherently had no problems with any of them.
I'm also looking at the Wrestle Kingdom card and thinking about the Super Junior singles tournament, and I just have a hard time believing that Doki is not going to be a part of Kingdom at all. I still feel like something's coming there. We've got a few shows. We got Christmas Corkins. They're probably not done announcing matches.
He's vanished, right?
Yeah, we have poof, like gone. I have ruled the junior division. I don't need to even be here. I have conquered the realm. It's kind of been his attitude to the point that he said, "I'm not even going to appear on the Wrestle Kingdom card. You can all kiss it." And
he's not been on any cards, is what I'm saying. Like he's not.
No, he hasn't even turned
been
up.
Gone since then. Like he literally just like effed off and took off.
Yes. Yeah, awesome. I don't buy it. I think I just don't think they're going to have that card without him, especially after what happened last year. Like him not being a part of Kingdom seems very weird to me.
I just like it just makes me laugh so much. Like he literally just said, "I'm the greatest," and I'm leaving, and he left.
Takeshita versus Claudio is coming. Brad mentions that Takeshita versus Claudio is coming on Saturday. That'll be probably really good.
That's right. You know what's interesting about that, Steven?
IWGP champion versus CMLL champion.
Oh my gosh. People are not making a big deal out of that.
You know why?
Because no one outside of CMLL, outside of Mexico, cares about this?
Because CMLL has approximately 75 title belts. Like, go on to one of those sites like Cage Match or Wrestling Data and look at who the CMLL champions are. There is a long list of CMLL belts. Now, Tony's trying to catch up with them, making this national title for no reason at all. But, everybody's got a belt now. You get a belt, and you get a belt, and you get a belt. But Takeshita has one that matters, and Claudio has a belt.
The CMLL welterweight champion in Massacre Dorada actually just pinned the CMLL heavyweight champion in Claudio on AEW television.
As somebody who watches a lot of Lucha Libre, to the point, again, my YouTube ads are in Spanish, okay? I watch a lot of CMLL. There is no company on earth where belts matter less. Although AEW is working very hard. But because it's a tourist attraction, right? It's people that don't necessarily watch Lucha that come in there. No one goes in there just saying, "Oh, the champ is here." It's Mystico.
Mystico's their biggest draw, and he's the lightweight champion.
Mascara Dorada, welterweight, middleweight, all that. And it's Mascara Dorada. It's Neon. It's they're holding
the trio belt. Sure.
Yeah, Ultimo Guerrero. That's what mattered. You don't, and of course, when you get to the anniversary shows and the Leyendas shows, the Night of Legends, it's a mask versus hair match. It's not like this is for the world heavyweight title. It's just not a thing in Lucha Libre. It's just not. So, they have belts, but it's not the focus.
It's just funny because you can put the belts on these guys, and Tony can do whatever he wants with the booking anyways. Because outside of Mexico, it just doesn't matter. And
none of these.
They're Arena Mexico vibes. And then there's those wrestlers because they're Arena Mexico, and then they're not wrestling in Arena Mexico.
Yeah, and Brad's right. He said mask matches mean much more than title matches. So do hair matches and all that. The apuestas, those are those stipulation matches. Apuestas, those are much more important. You're correct, Brad. Yeah, thanks for that comment. And it's something that when everybody has a belt, nobody has one really that matters. So it's kind of a tough situation anyway. But if you want to laugh, go look at some of the names of those CMLL titles. I love CMLL. Their title situation's nuts. It's just historic champion. What the hell is that? I don't know. Like it's the same weight class, but they're the historic champion. I don't even know what it means. By the way, I was looking through my old stuff here, and over here behind me, I always put something from my collection out, and I change it every week. But this is the top of the Super Juniors tournament, number 3 from the 1990s. And Negro Casas is there, Flying Scorpio, Koji Kanemoto, Pegasus Kid, awkward. Eddie Guerrero, Eddie Guerrero. I thought that was Eddie Guerrero, not Black Tiger. Eddie Guerrero, right? And then down here in the corner, we have Dave Finlay. Deev for Dave Finlay, for Fit Finlay. It was Dave, but because of the way it's said and though translated into Japanese, it comes out Deev. Dave Finlay. Tell you what, it's tough over there. It's tough over there sometimes. But I got to take out of that, and I had to put it up on there. So, Jeremy, you mentioned earlier something as we get closer to January 4th.
Yes.
About the Wrestle Kingdom attendance. Now, they had, just to recap, they had the big boom. The day tickets went on sale, huge box office, almost 30, what was it, over 25,000. And then within another week, about 30,000. Ticket sales very strong out of the gate. They announced Okada versus Tanahashi and sold the joint out. Then they said we're going to create more seats,
stage, and make more seats.
So as we moved on, the actual number of people that will be in the dome has shifted because it went better than their wildest dreams. We've got to find ways to pack more people in this place, and there are opportunities for that. Like you mentioned, the outfield seats. There was a large portion of the outfield itself that did not have seats on it. There were big open areas. They're going to put down rows of chairs there and sell more tickets. Jeremy, what have you learned about how many people may be joining you on the 4th?
So a couple hours ago, I was on social media, just kind of getting notes together. And one of the social media personalities that, I kind of look at for New Japan information, Peps Wrestling, he does Wrestle Voices and a couple other places. I've done some videos with him and Scotty Wrestling. So I know who he is. He may not know who I am, but whatever. He said that they sold out, and then somebody was saying like, "Oh, how many tickets is that going to be? 50,000?" And he immediately wrote back 55,000. And I was like, "That seems like a lot." So I don't do this
that many in before.
I don't do this often. So I picked up my phone and I called Dave Peltzer, and I said, "Dave, I got one question for you." And he's like, "What's that?" And I was like, "How many tickets does it sell out at the Tokyo Dome?" And he was quiet for a second. And then he said, "That's a really good question." And he sat there with me for a minute and he just started spouting off numbers. And he said, there's 46,000 seats that you can get in the stadium at the Tokyo Dome for a baseball game.
Yeah.
Now, there's going to be blockage and a couple of other things that go on in a stadium of that size. Even though they're scaling down the stage, they're still going to have a stage. So if you take that into account, plus thinking 5,000 on the floor, somewhere between 45 and 48,000 might be the realistic number. Now, he was off of memory explaining that the ticket sales for Tanahashi and Omega in 2019 were about 38,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So that gives you an impression of just how big what this is doing, that it cleared almost 10,000 more than the sellout that they announced for Tanahashi and Omega. Now, Okada and Ibushi, I think, which was the last one in 2020 before the pandemic hit, they actually did a ticket sales of 40,800, according to Dave, with an announced ticket with comps all about 42,000. Mm-hmm. So there's only a cap of how much you can get. So the idea of 55,000 might be a bit overzealous, but if you were just slightly under 50,000 might be exactly what they could get in, because there are no comps. They're not giving tickets out for this. Whatever is like the ticket sales, they can hang their hat on it and give you an authentic number, and everyone's going to believe it. This is the feather of all feathers in anyone's cap for these tickets. So when he workshopped it with me, and we spent about 10 minutes kind of talking it out, he kind of came to the 45, 48,000 range would be about what he thinks that the actual attendance is going to be.
Yeah. So according to Wikipedia, which has cited its source, and so that is according to this, which does cite sources other than just some guy on Wikipedia. There are, right. But 45,600 for baseball. That's just if you sold out a Tokyo Giants game.
So when he said 46,000, it's good for him.
Yeah, no, he was right on. He was right on there. And then I wasn't disputing that, but what I'm saying
I like to give Mick Flower when he does this off of memory. He's literally just spouting these numbers off, and I'm like, God damn.
You can, for events, it says get about 55,000 in there. The maximum number of people that can be in the building, which wouldn't really, and that's the maximum number of people you can get in the building. Once you build the stage, once you put the ring up, once you put the, then you're talking around 60,000. That's not going to happen because there is going to be a set, there is going to be a stage, there's going to be a ramp, there's going to be a ring. So I would say it would max out possibility realistically 55 if they just have seats all over the outfield and if they sell the outfield bleachers.
Well, he was thinking about 5,000 people you could get on the field if 46,000 came,
which gets you to 50 and another 5,000 if they completely open up the outfield.
You have to assume the baseball is like to capacity, and that's the seating that already exists. So you take that 45,600 and then you add 5,000 on the ground. Then you subtract whatever blockage and whatever like you need for stage setting. So you take the 51,000 and you may be able to get more than the 3,000 difference, but you also have to like hedge for exits and games.
Well, yes. And I'll mention one other thing. In Japan, you are allowed to sell a certain number of SROs, standing room only seats around the concourse as well. It just depends on how much you want to pack the joint in. And New Japan might want to pack this son of a gun in. And they might just want to do
right now we're going to be in a position of, is it over 50 or under 50? But either way, come on.
I mean, what a number.
The question of over or under 50,000 is just like, dude.
I mean, that's Jeremy, that's about double last year.
I know. That's more than they packed in both nights combined.
Yes. Yeah. Well, certainly, because I think I
did
again
15 and 25, right?
18 the second night, allegedly, and I don't buy it. And
but
something like and 28 to 25. Oh yeah. No. This is a monster.
Fantastic.
This is an absolute Tanahashi's retirement is a monster. The Japanese will come out for a major retirement. Noah did one of its biggest crowds ever for Muto's retirement, and everybody knew that Muto could not move. They weren't expecting a good match. Naito pried something pretty interesting out of him that night, and that was pretty good. But everyone knew that there was not much left of Muto, but they showed up to say goodbye. That is a very big deal in Japan to show up to say goodbye. And Tanahashi is getting a proper send-off with a crowd like this. And it's got to be good for morale. Now, national television for the first time in the Wrestle Kingdom era. Add that in, and man, make some stars, New Japan. Do the right thing. Give them a reason to come back.
I'm really excited for January 4th. I think it's going to be a very memorable day.
You're going to cry, aren't you? You're going to cry.
Of course I'm going to cry. Bro, I cried at the Sumi Sakai retirement, and I'm barely like.
Oh, bless Sumi. We all love Sumi.
I'm going to be like, I'm probably going to have to wear my glasses instead of my contacts just because of just the kind of day it's going to be. In all honesty, like
what row are you in again?
I'm in the royal seat, right? I don't have my ticket yet, but there are only like 40 of these tickets.
You don't have your ticket?
No, I pick it up at
oh, that's right. That's yes. Okay, because you got that through the actual NJPW.
Yeah, I do. I do the whole thing where there's like
you do the will call.
They're gonna get down on one knee and present it like a
yeah, it comes in a very neat envelope. I'll say that.
I'm excited. I really am. Myself and Rubio are
and helpfully English instructions on which gate to enter. You'll appreciate that when you get there.
Clutch.
Yeah,
it's like
it is.
Their audience.
It is. The thing about that too. I mean, I'm sure it's probably in your receipt exactly what ticket you bought. That's not the problem. But I forgot that they just do all that stuff with will call. The rest you're doing with buysumotickets.com, right?
Well, yeah. I was working with a weaponized incompetence in trying to figure this all out until you basically said, "Yeah, just go to buy sumo tickets and do it that way." And I was
all in English, and they do it all
right. Fine, I'll go to buy sumo tickets. And I think I texted you like 15 minutes later, like, yeah, that was real easy.
Mm-hmm. And they FedEx it to you.
I think it's going to my hotel.
Wow, that's even cooler. I mean, I bought my tickets far enough ahead of time. I just had them FedEx to the house.
I wasn't sure it was going to work out because I bought them like a week ago, and I didn't. Yeah. And I have a mailroom thing here that is problematic to say the least. I'm not going to get into it, but I saw the option to send it to the Tokyo Dome Hotel on the day I arrived, and I was like,
Hell yes.
I'm just going to do that. And if it doesn't work out, that's fine. But I'm just going to, it's fine.
It's Japan. It's going to work out.
Right. Exactly. Like if it doesn't work out, it's because I'm an idiot, not them.
Yeah. That's going to show up exactly when it's supposed to, where it's supposed to. That's a great thing about
kind of
all
what
that
I
works
think too.
All
right, man. We did it. Another 90 minutes in the book.
Not a lot of shows left to cover in the rest of the year, but plenty of news coming. And we're going to have guests, like you mentioned, the Keeping It Strong style folks will be here. A lot to come. Of course, next week, we'll also be looking at the other semifinal match, the World Tag League Finals, and any angles that come that point us toward that Tokyo Dome show. Christmas Corkins are coming as well. So we've got enough to talk about, I think. We'll be in good shape.
We are not going to be live on Christmas.
No.
But
there'll be a show.
Are you want to go live on New Year's Day?
I'm down.
Okay, so I'm going to be in Japan, and so I'm going to have to get up on like Friday be ready at Friday at like 7:30 in the morning, which sounds actually kind of awesome to have a cup of coffee and talk to some New Japan while I'm in Japan.
It's not so bad. I did it a couple of times last year. It's not a tough wake up because your body clock's going to be all out of whack and you'll be getting up early anyway, whether you want to or not.
But I have some irons in the fire about some ideas of what we're going to do for our Christmas show, because we're obviously not going to record. But if all things work out, we're going to have something really fun for you guys to enjoy before Wrestle Kingdom.
Very good. All right. Well, with that in mind, we're going to sign off for this week. I want to thank everybody that joined us here live, everybody that watches this later, everyone that listens later on the podcast feed. We really appreciate the time you give to us out here. And we love doing the show for you. And we look forward to talking to you next week. So for Jeremy Finestone, I'm Steven Conway. This has been Speaking of Strong Style, and we'll talk to you again real soon.